So talk a little bit about the whole lactic acid thing too, because that is something that I remember from my CrossFit days. That was like there are ways to improve your buffering.
Well, you can train lactic acid, right?
Yes.
So we had a different approach, and of course, most people know my story, and if not everybody, but we had, as complicated as the story was, and there was certainly medicine involved. That was not. That was the way the game was played. But the guy who oversaw all of my training was Dr. Michele Ferrari, who is hugely controversial, very, very polarizing, but also brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Can you unpack that a little bit? Just
from an exercise physiology standpoint.
Yeah.
So yes, as an MD, could help navigate certain things, but when it came to training and preparation, like if you said the goal is 3 weeks in July, like how you build to that.
Just a savant.
Absolutely the best. One of the best that ever lived. And if we all raced on bread and water, he still would be one of the best that ever lived. That's his view on how do you sort of, because with lactic acid, you have what everybody has. And a thing that's commonly tested is, what is your lactate threshold?
Yes.
Right? So your lactate
threshold training. Yeah.
It's generally considered to be, and you do it with a finger prick, on, either in the gym or the side of the road or in the lab, doesn't matter. And it's generally considered to be 4 millimoles, right? So beyond 4 and higher is when you start to, you have to slow down, right? Because lactic acid is accumulating. It would be like getting on an assault bike and going as hard as you could for the first 5 seconds. Like, okay, I got it. The next 5, you're like, I'm slowing down. After that, you really start. If you just kept going, you would stop.
Yep.
Well, why do you stop? You stop because of lactic acid. That's what's stopping you. You could do it. You could find a half mile, 20% hill and start running up it, right? You would ultimately stop if you were sprinting. So that's all lactic acid, right? So the goal for us, at least, was how do we stay below 4 as long as possible? Now, you're going to have these spikes where you go above 4, but the key is to stay below. The way he always described it, which made the most sense to me, was just as if you imagine that this is 4 millimoles, right? If this is 4 millimoles and you want to get your threshold up, right? What's the best way to do it? There are folks that think you should train above threshold so that will get the threshold up.
His view was training right below.
His view was that if you trained above it, you would push it down. Whereas if you train just below it, you just keep bumping it up. That was his view.
Yeah.
So we were above the threshold on the assault bike this morning, for example.
Yeah.
Because you race 50 days a year. You are going to be above. His view was that those are uncontrollable. You're at the mercy of 200 other guys in the race, and there's times you're going to be above threshold. But when you're training alone, and we can control the workout and the environment and whatever, we're going to train below threshold. Now, it might take training days for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, but always below threshold. We never did specific stuff above, ever. And again, this is power to weight. So there's 2 parts of the test. You have to stand on the scale in the morning.
Yep.
And you have to go do the test, right? You could do 500 watts, but if you weigh 225 pounds, you're not going to win the Tour de France.
Oh.
But if you weighed 165 pounds, so it's a ratio. So that's power to weight. We would always use the magic number of 7. If you were 7 watts per kilo, nobody could beat me.
What was the best that?
Right around 7. I mean, there were years I was less. I mean, even 6'8", 2003, I wasn't that good. That's good enough to win.
Yeah.
But all about lactate.